Hello everyone, welcome to Time to Heal. My name is Pam Hemphill, and I bring you the dark side of addiction into a whole new light, I hope. Because in a lot of shows they're always talking about the terrible things about addiction and how bad it is, and that's so true. We don't want to discard that, but here we want to show and talk about the good things of recovery and the miracles that do happen for those of us that get clean and sober. Today we're going to be talking about teenage drug abuse and alcoholism. And I was thinking about bringing statistics and sharing with you, how many are dying and about the spice drug that's out there that's killing people. And I thought, no, you probably know more about it than I do. And you could go look up all that information. What's more important today I wanted to be able to do is have someone here personally sharing her own experience with this and how she's recovering from it. And so today I brought on Anna Grace, and she's going to share a little bit about herself and how she's been able to stay sober now and clean for how long?
Almost 7 months.
7 months. Okay, so we're going to get started here and have Anna share. First, tell us, where were you born and raised?
I was born here, Boise, Idaho. Always been raised here. I love traveling, and my family does, so we, not much out of the United States, but we'll go around, and I have family who live all over, so we'll go and visit a lot.
Okay. Can you tell us, when did you first start drinking and using? Or what was your drug of choice? Alcohol, drugs?
My drug of choice was anything I could get my hands on.
Yeah,
so
me too.
anything just to kind of go numb or not feel.
How old were you?
I was 11.
How did you find the drugs and alcohol?
My dad was a big user, and so he'd always be like, here, you want to try it? And so I'd always go, okay. And that was kind of my first, after I'd take one and I'd kind of feel just get a little loopy, and then I'd always go back until I got sick.
The norm, you always hear about how the parents capture the child and they get in trouble, but your story is the opposite.
My dad was...
What was he using? What kind of drugs would he offer you?
He mostly alcohol, but he was on a bunch of other stuff, and he would use around us, me and my little sister and my older brothers.
How do you feel about that now, knowing your dad?
I used to hold it against him a lot, how he'd never have time for me or my little sister, and how much it hurt, because I wanted a daddy in my life. I wanted a daddy.
Yeah.
And he was too strung out, and when I started using, and I kind of found out what it was like, I guess, being under control of drugs and alcohol, and feeling like that was the most important thing, and not having time for my family, and seeing how much it had actually hurt them.
Yeah. What about your mother? Did she ever find out, or?
About my dad using, or?
Yeah, giving you drugs, or did she give you any drugs?
No, my mother never has. But she didn't find out until I had told her, I guess, which was...
Were they living together?
Yes.
Okay.
At the time, yeah.
Was she upset at him for his using or drinking?
She didn't know about it. My dad was very good at hiding it. But he was on meth a lot of the times, but my mom didn't find out until it kind of got to the end where she had told him he needed to leave and straighten up and get that stuff away from his children. And
okay, so once she found out that she had to leave,
yes.
and what was her reaction when you told her that he was giving you drugs?
She was hurt. She cried, definitely, and she asked me how I felt about it and how it had affected me. But it was in the past, she couldn't change it, so she knew it wasn't something to mourn over.
Were there other places you were able to get alcohol and drugs besides your father?
At that age, or?
Yeah.
No.
Just through your father. And then what happened later?
When I entered 6th grade, it was the summer of 6th grade, that's when I first got offered pills and marijuana and some other harder stuff, I guess you could say. And I was a fearless child, so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And it kind of took off from there.
From school? School friends? You mean?
School, summer, I had never hung out with people my age. I was always hanging out with older kids who were more experienced. And so they would always try to like get me high, get me drunk. And
They know how old you were.
I didn't look my age and I didn't act my age.
Yeah, even now, you're 13, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think that's from maybe having a lot of stress in your life?
I feel like it's just from being through a lot. I've experienced a lot in my short life.
Yeah.
So it's caused me to see the world more as it actually is, not a sugar-coated version.
Do you mind sharing more about what happened to you? What you started doing to yourself?
After I started using, I went into a Great Depression and I had started harming myself.
How did you harm yourself?
I would cut my wrists and my thighs and my stomach and on my ankles.
So they call that cutting.
Mm-hmm.
They call it.
Yeah, and I would burn on my pressure points with cigarette cherries and lighters, matches.
Do you know what you were trying to do?
I was trying to be in control. I mean, I was getting bullied a lot, and I thought if people were causing me this much pain, why couldn't I be in control of it and do it to myself? So after a while of that, my mom had found out, and we had gotten me set up with counselors, and I actually went away for only a couple weeks my first time. It was a treatment facility, and it helped, but only for a short time. I didn't feel like I had that support that I needed to quit using and quit harming myself. But I had come back from my first one, and I had counselors meeting almost every other day with me, and that helped a lot. It created a lot of stress, but it was definitely something I needed. After that, I felt like I didn't need my mom as much as I did, and so I would go out and I'd leave for a while, and I was always with older kids, so they always had more substances and ways to experiment with them, I guess. And that definitely took a toll on me. I have a very addictive personality, so it definitely was something. I liked the rush of it.
Did you ever experience any blackouts when you were drinking? Do you know what blackouts are?
Yes, I do. There was one time I was at a pond where a lot of teenagers like to hang out, and it was actually one of my first times, like, being out super late and not knowing what was going on, and just taking everything that had been offered to me. And I woke up luckily it was a friend's house who knew what was going on, and she said I was safe that night, but I didn't know what had happened. I didn't remember anything. I didn't remember where I was. She said I could barely remember my own name.
You must have been drinking quite a bit. Do you know why people cut though? Why they do that?
I feel like it's more an adrenaline rush, a release of pain, I guess.
So you don't have to feel emotional pain?
Yeah, exactly. It's more getting rid of the emotional pain with physical pain.
Yeah. Did it work?
It worked for me, but it only ended up causing me problems in the long run. And it did become a very addictive thing. It was definitely hard to overcome.
What's the addiction to it though? Explain. So people don't understand that.
It was more just like something goes wrong, or you feel such deep pain, you want to inflict it upon yourself, and it's always there. Like, the razor becomes your best friend, the blade is just...
So you know there's somewhere you can go
Exactly.
to get rid of that pain. What about the alcohol and drugs? Did that work?
It did, definitely. I was always,
Would you do both, cut and use
Mhm.
drugs? So it wasn't like one thing worked better than another.
I would mostly use, and then when I was coming down from whatever I was on, I'd get really depressed, I'd get suicidal, and there have been a couple times where I did actually try to go as far as taking my own life. But yeah, it's definitely, it really.
I know the feeling. I wanted to do that all my life, suicide. I was 13, locked up in juvenile hall at your age, and I admitted that I started using drugs and alcohol. I overdosed on 20 tabs of Orange Sunshine, that's LSD. My whole teenage life was just juvenile hall, running away, suicidal, drugs. So I really know what you were feeling and going through, but I had to discover later what that really was. Now, do you want to share what you discovered, why all this really was going on? What had happened to you?
It was a lot of pain from when I was younger that I had kept inside. I didn't talk to anybody about.
In secret.
Exactly, I had many secrets. I was sexually abused when I was younger, and I didn't know any better. It was something I hadn't been taught, and so I just kind of like let it happen. And I didn't tell my mother I didn't tell anybody until my 13th birthday.
How do we take it on that it's our fault? Don't you feel like you didn't want to tell anybody because you thought it was your fault? Huh?
I felt like I'd get in trouble for it. I
Yeah,
felt like
like we had did something wrong.
I could have done something to prevent
What
it.
could you have done? How old were you, 5? What could we have done at 5 years old? But did he say anything like, if you do tell, I'm going to...
Yeah, he was a neighbor kid, I guess you could say.
Also, it was a kid, a teenager?
Yeah, he was a lot older than I was.
Okay.
Almost by 10, 12 years.
So a teenager maybe?
Mm-hmm. And he did say things, and I was a scared kid. Like, I didn't want to tell my dad. I thought my dad would blame it on me. And I didn't want to tell my mom because I was afraid of what she would do. I was afraid she'd be hurt and think it was my fault as well. So I ended up keeping that a secret and would use drugs to release the pain.
But you know now it's nothing to do with you. It wasn't your fault. You had...
No, I realized I couldn't do anything to prevent it. It happens to a lot of people.
Yeah,
And
thousands of us.
exactly, and you can't always do something to prevent it. And
But where do we get that? You see the movie Good Will Hunting? And this little part of the movie when he keeps pushing and saying it's not your fault. Where do we get that from? That somehow we created this. It's them.
just like thinking it's your fault, or
Yeah.
for me, I guess it's different for everybody. But for me, it was just thinking I could have done something to prevent it. I could have anything. I mean, I was little. I felt like I felt more grown up than I actually was.
Right.
So.
But you couldn't have. And we carry that into our later years too, and that's how we end up being fixers for everybody. It's our fault. We can fix it. I gotta be a people pleaser to my friends. I can't say no. Did you find any of that start happening? Because it's all your fault. You know, the reason your dad is drinking and using drugs is your fault too, right? Was it? It was?
I feel like it was. I know he was already very far in his addiction when I was born, and I didn't know until I was a little bit older. And to this day, I still feel like, is there something I could have done to make him stop? Is there something I could have done to make him stay?
What would you have done? Nothing. I know the feeling. I really do. My father died from alcoholism, but I was 5 years old. That's why in the program of Al-Anon they teach us that we can't cure it, we can't control it, and we didn't cause it. But those are common feelings that everyone that had either been raised with an alcoholic father or mother, or live with a spouse, that something that we can do can fix it. But it's just, try to remember, it's the same kind of thinking of, if somebody has diabetes, we're gonna fix that? Come on.
Impossible. Can't change other people.
So you're gonna keep that on the mirror, it's not my fault. What are you doing now? You've been clean now how long?
Almost 7 months.
Wow. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
It's definitely taken a lot. It's taken. I went away to Pocatello, Idaho for almost 4 months,
Okay.
where I could have used if I had wanted to. It was very easy to get drugs in the facility. But I can definitely say it helped a lot, and I learned a lot. I had a lot of time to focus on myself and my needs, and actually got to see that me on drugs wasn't me.
And you're doing what now? You go to meetings, got a sponsor, working the steps?
My amazing sponsor.
Yeah, I am. You're telling people I'm your sponsor? You don't mind that? Okay. Yeah, so you better not use it, they're gonna come after me. It'd be my fault, right? No, I'm just kidding. You're not in control if somebody drinks or uses already. No. Well, I got a magic wand, so I'm gonna fix you. So you're talking to me, you have a sponsor, you're working the steps, I know that because we just finished our fifth step. What else are you doing? You're going to counseling too, right?
Yes, I've been doing a lot of counseling. I've been working with people who haven't found support groups, I guess. A lot of my recovering friends who haven't found programs that work for them. So I've talked to them a lot about stuff and who actually had a lot of the same problems I did. So that's definitely been helping.
What about maybe talking to them and all of you start your own group?
That would be really awesome, actually.
Yeah.
That would help a lot of kids my age.
I know, I'll help you. You let me know, and we'll talk more about that. Because there's nothing like, if I had never cut myself or overdosed or felt suicidal, and we got together and we supported each other, there's nothing like the power of that. Somebody else knows where I've been through.
Powerful thing.
Yeah. So what would you, from here, where do you think you need to go from here? Well, I forgot, I wanted to ask you too, if you could share about your schooling. What are your dreams?
I actually want to become an adolescent psychiatrist or drug and alcohol mental health counselor.
Okay.
To work with kids my age who've gone through the same things, share my experiences. Right now I'm currently doing an online program.
How did you get involved in that?
Well,
school or what?
Yes, it's a Johns Hopkins University or program for the University of Baltimore, which I am just now starting to get comfortable with, and I'm still doing my regular core classes. I've always been, I guess, a smart kid, but when I started using, my grades went down, but luckily I've been able to get them up. I think I have almost 3.8 GPA.
Oh, 3.8. Wow.
I've definitely improved.
Yes.
Sobriety's
Oh, I'm
helped
so
me.
proud of you. Yeah. Good feelings could be scary too, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Not at all too well.
Because it's like something's going to happen, come take this all away. But it's not.
Even imagining what it would be like if you're high. Like,
Yeah.
we're using, I guess, like being happy, and I wonder how much better this would be if I were high. But in the long run, it's always not. It never is.
You know what they taught me in the program, and it's a good tool to remember. Think it all the way through. Okay, I get high, then what happens next, and then what happens next, and then what happens next. Because it's like our brain only goes so far. Yeah, I just remember the good, but I forgot about the night. Oh, I forgot what I did last night. I forgot about the jail and the cutting. So think it all the way through.
When I was in my most recent rehab facility, they had this triangle, and it reminded me. It was feelings, behaviors, and actions.
Okay.
And when you get too far in, it's a lot harder to get out, but it's a never-ending
Oh, I
cycle.
love that.
It definitely made me open my eyes.
So how would you use that tool? Give us an example.
If
You felt like using.
I felt like using, I would say I would identify what I'm feeling
Okay.
or my emotions, what could possibly happen when I'm using or out of it, I guess you could say. And then my behaviors afterwards, if I would continue using or if I would get back on track. It's definitely a scary thought.
Yeah. Okay. So it's similar, we'll think it all the way through. What are you feeling? And two, do you, besides me, you have other numbers to call people?
Oh yes, I have.
Okay. 'Cause that's what's really important, to connect with different people, not just one person. I remember though Carol said let one person get to really know you, though, so you can tell them all your secrets. You mentioned that you're having a problem struggling being around people your own age. Is that getting any better? Or, do you know what that's from? Why do you have that?
I'm not sure. I just feel like I've never gotten along with kids my age unless like family or really close friends who I was raised with. I have a hard time opening up, I guess. Like I feel like they're all like best buds and I'm just over here like the corner kid, sits and like stands in the corner at social events. So I'm just kind of like, I've always hung out with older kids. I feel like they were more accepting and had been through more, so they know what it's like.
Okay, so a little bit of self-worth and a little bit of communication. Huh? Yeah. Have you ever thought of going to Alateen or young people's meetings?
I've been talking to people about that, and I've been trying to figure out times. I have a really busy schedule right now. But I've actually been looking into that, and I feel like it would be a really good idea. Like it would actually help to connect with kids or people closer to my age.
Yeah. But too, because you were 11, right, with your dad. Your dad was an older, so you get introduced to adult things very young by an adult, so I could see where the two could be part of it. And then as a little girl, you were with an adult that abused you, so part of you sometimes feel more comfortable, even though they're abusing you, because like you mentioned, those older ones too will give you the drugs.
Exactly.
I'm not going to do a counseling session here with you, but to see how you can, you have so much to offer those your age, what you've been through. Oh, you're just a miracle. I am just so proud of you. One quick thing, I think how much time we have left. I wanted to ask you, do you know anything about this drug spice we buried this girl, she was 19 years old. She only used it once and she died. Is that still going around here a lot?
It definitely is. I don't have much experience with spice because the first time I'm allergic to it. So I was sent to the hospital, my throat was swelling. It's
very dangerous, huh?
Definitely, it's a lot of unknown chemicals.
Okay.
And it's
still going around here? Oh boy, so we need more awareness on that. But as far as the drugs though that you see in this area, what is the most used, your age group?
dextromethorphan.
What is that?
It's cough syrup.
Really?
That was my drug of choice, like the most recent, that was definitely one.
You can just get that from the grocery store?
Yeah,
So
like,
it's
really
used a lot?
easy to get.
A lot of teenagers are using that?
Yes.
What about illegal drugs? A lot of marijuana?
Marijuana, there's a lot of acid going around.
A lot of, really?
Mm-hmm.
See, I've kind of been out of it for 35 years.
There's a lot of acid, marijuana. I've seen a lot of shrooms, which have definitely been not something I've seen often, so it's kind of weird seeing them more, but...
You know what I want to do, because we're coming close to an end here, would you mind doing part 2 with this? There's a lot more questions I'd like to ask you.
I'd love to.
Next month. So we're going to come back and do part 2, because what do we have left now? Just a minute or two. Anything before we end that you'd like to share with those your age out there to give them some hope?
it gets better. If you really put your mind to it and have someone close that you can talk to, this too shall pass. And I want to thank you too. You've been one of the biggest supporters in my life.
Oh, I
Helped
love
me
you.
overcome a lot.
Oh, I love you. I'm so proud of you. Give me a hug. Oh.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to see you back, right? We're going to do part 2. Yes. And don't give up because your miracle's on its way. Whoa. What'd you think?
Awesome.
Wow, she's amazing.
That was great.
Yeah, you also shared a lot. Whoa. Whoa, you didn't mind, huh? You don't know how many people you've helped today.
Yeah.
Oh, really?